Good evening, Carew. It is, in fact, here the evening of the 11th of April. I almost said February there. And I just watched your video that you made about your lovely day, your gorgeous, stunningly gorgeous day. And I am so glad to hear that things are going well for you, going swimmingly for you. Um, the I didn't take close enough notes on your video to respond directly, but I figured I'll make this video for you and upload it in the morning because I want to get out on the deck because it's supposed to be a really nice day tomorrow again before the weather turns, actually. But I figured I didn't make a video today. It was just a little bit too much. So I would recap the last 2 days. So the first thing you asked about in your video, well, you mentioned Brighton and Caleb, and their incredible interpretive multimedia video for you, and yeah, I mean, there's some real talent there, like next level. I mean, their YouTube presence could double the views of ours. I mean, they could get 10 times the views of ours. I mean, they're that good. But yeah, unfortunately, we put them on a train this afternoon, and they're headed to Manchester. They're in Manchester tonight. Actually, they should be at a live performance of A Knight's Tale at some theater in Manchester this evening before they catch a plane tomorrow. And then they have a long, long flight. They arrive back in Pullman on Sunday. Oh, I'm tired. So, yeah, so we've been running to try to get everything for them while they were here. And it was Brighton's, I don't know if I mentioned this before, it was Brighton's first trip out of the United States. And I think he had a really good time. So yesterday, that would be the 10th of April, we got up in the morning, and to speak to my gout, which you asked about, and being ambulatory, before I get into the exact activities the last 2 days. Yeah, I've got to say that day before yesterday, so it would have been the 9th, when I woke up in the morning, I just, and it had been coming on for a couple days, and I'd been able to ignore it and work through it, and it just reached a point where I couldn't anymore. And boy, I've got to develop strategies because I don't cope well with that. I get grumpy, and so let me just say, I dipped my foot in the healing pool, and I did a little bit of walking on that day, as I showed in that video. In yesterday, we went to Dinas Emrys first thing in the morning. I didn't walk with the neighbors, which I would have done otherwise if my foot was not in better shape. And I've been icing and taking anti-inflammatories, and pounding water. And we went to Dinas Emrys, which is like it's a less than 3 mile round trip hike, but it's a lot of up and down, and it's a little rugged in places. And so I let everyone else go, and I ended up walking about a mile while they were gone, and I just took it nice and slow, and I walked on the flat around the area by the car park. I took a few pictures, which I'll cut in some of them here. Just sheep, and actually you can see Dinas Emrys, the mountain. It's really just a big hill from there. And then we went from Dinas Emrys, and they took about 2.5 hours, and they came back, and that walk is just really beautiful, especially on a day like yesterday when it was just sunny with no wind to speak of. And there's a couple pools that are just gorgeous, and waterfall. I think in previous video I showed the last time we went to Dinas Emrys. And they just were kind of blown away by how beautiful it was. And then there's the legend and the ties to King Arthur, which make it so meaningful, something you can tell your friends about, right? So when they go back, Brighton and Kayla can say they went to this place where this legend of Merlin's kind of origin story supposedly happened. It's pretty special. And so we went from there to Harlech Castle, and we ate lunch there, and then kind of wandered around the castle. Stopped by Criccieth on the way home, got the kids some ice cream, and they sat on the beach and ate their ice cream, and then we were made at home and went out to eat at Morvark, which is seahorse, which we now kind of have an acquaintanceship with the waitress there through our friend Alan. And yeah, so it was a good day. I limited my walking. I iced, and I as I said, I took anti-inflammatories, and by the end of the day, I was starting to feel better. So that was last night, and then this morning we knew Brighton and Kayla had to catch a train at 2:45 this afternoon. So our plan, we'd planned to have lunch with Bridget and Margaret in Conwy, and so we drove over to Sucknant Pass, and Brighton basically said, we were like, what do you want to do, your last morning? And he said, my favorite part of these trips has been the walks up in the hills. It's just so beautiful. And so we said, okay, we will walk over Conwy Mountain. It's Mynydda the Dref, is the Welsh name for it. And it's a pretty easy walk up, and then it's a walk. You can walk down into town, and I'll just take the car around. And my plan originally was to just drop them off and drive the car into Conwy and kind of walk around Conwy. But my foot was feeling so much better that I walked all the way to the top with them, and I took some drone footage, which you probably are already seeing, as well as pictures, and we saw some more ponies, and they loved it. They really enjoyed it. And then I walked back and got the car, and everyone else walked all the way into Conwy, as Brad and Jess had done when we were there with them last fall. And I parked the car and went into town, and my foot feels so much better. It's it's still sore. It's not at 100%, but I walked 4 or 5 miles today, and feel good. And then while we were having lunch, I was talking to Tom and Brighton, and they talked about how special it was, that experience of walking over a mountain and into the castle, and how it's just not something they had ever thought they'd ever get to do. And I realized that on some level, that the aesthetic of that experience sounds really cool, but you're just walking over a hill and then into a town. But it makes me really happy how much it meant to them to be able to do that. And Conway Mountain, when you start at Suckman Pass, you're pretty high up, so there's not a ton of elevation gain, maybe a few hundred feet. But then it's 800 feet from the summit down into Conway, so that's not a small drop, and they felt it when they got there. But yeah, it ended up being a great time, and then a great lunch with Margaret and Bridget, and we were able to drop them off for their train, and I think they had a really good time. And I think Tom said that Brighton had said it had exceeded his expectations, which is what we aim for, So yeah, that was the last couple days. Oh, and then we got back. So we got back here to the house at about, I don't know, a little before 3:30. And I had originally planned to go with Ben and soak in the river again this afternoon, but he had to cancel because his schedule got full, which is kind of a bummer. But we puttered around, and actually I did some work. We've got a bunch of stuff. I mean, we've got 3 more weeks here, and honestly, it's going to be pretty busy. There's going to be a lot of people coming and going. I'll talk about that later, but so we've got work we need to do. Sarah's a little stressed. She just got the first draft of the audiobook of her most recent book, and she has to go through, and it's going to take her probably 15 to 20 hours of work to go through and QA the whole thing. So we did a lot of that. But the cool thing this evening, we got to go visit the church at the corner, just that our Church Street is named after, and Sandberg Church. It means Church of St. Mary's, and there was a men's chorus having a concert there, and Sarah got tickets, and Tom and Lynn had asked about going to something, and so we went down to this concert, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not actually a big concert goer, but the conductor was incredibly exacting in her conducting style. She was very precise, and it's interesting because like Bill, who does the choir I sing with in Pendleton, is incredible and detail oriented, and he prepares us, but then he conducts in a very sort of he's much less precise in his conducting. He's kind of guiding us along, and she was like pointing at people, and just her movements were so crisp and so precise. It was really fun to watch, and the music was actually quite accessible. I was surprised. I expected it to be a little more complicated, but that was really fun. And our neighbors a couple doors down were there, so we sat with them. But yeah, that's what we've been up to. Boom, and just like that, it's tomorrow morning, and another glorious day in Carnarvon. The one thing I didn't mention last night when I was recounting everything was a response to your question of whether or not Todd and Julie are welcome to come. Of course they're welcome to come. It's Todd and Julie, right? Tell them they can come as long as we got space. They've got a room. Yeah. So that is what we've been up to. And I'm going to turn around now and just take a look out at this beautiful, beautiful view overlooking the Menai Strait. I'll let you know that is my story. I'm going to stick with that story for the time being.